YouTube. So today we're talking about how to overcome and manage writer's block. First off, if you're living under a rock or you are a super privileged writer and you've never heard of or experienced writer's block, let's talk about what it is briefly. Writer's block is that moment that hits you when you're trying and you really want to be writing. You're usually in the middle of a scene or a chapter and it just blanks out. Nothing is coming out. You cannot figure out how to get from where you are to where you want to be. Alright, so that's what it is. Usually it comes at the most inconvenient time. It rarely hits when you don't need to be writing, right? Always happens when you should be writing or want to be writing. So what are some main causes of writer's block? Well, I've boiled it down, in my opinion, to three things that I believe are the main contributing causes for writer's block. There may be more. I'm sure people will disagree or have other ideas, but I think it boils down to these three things: timing, fear, and perfectionism. Let's talk about each one really briefly. Timing, it could mean anything. It could be that the time of the day that you're trying to write is not really conducive to getting stuff done. Maybe you're trying to write when your kids are running around, or you're trying to homeschool and you're trying to write in between things, or on your lunch break at your job that you're working from home. You know what I'm talking about. We've all done it. Or you're trying to write when you're too tired at the end of the day after dealing with the kids, whatever the case may be. Or it could be that timing is referring to the time, this time in your life may not be the time to write this particular story. That's usually not the case, but it could be. It could be that maybe you've got too much going on, again, with kids and homeschooling and work and household stuff and all the things you have to do. It may be that you need to wait a little bit. That's timing. The second is fear. What fear of what? All kinds of fear. Fear of failure, fear of losing, fear of rejection. Imposter syndrome, I think, falls under this. How many of you have suffered from imposter syndrome at some point as a writer, right? And what that is that's the feeling of, who am I to write this book? I'm not a professional writer. I'm just a mom from Kansas who had an idea. That's imposter syndrome, and it can get in the way. That's a fear. All of those fears are reasons that you can have writer's block. And these things happen subconsciously. It's not like you may even be consciously thinking, I'm afraid that I'm going to fail. You may be, you may not be. But trust me, that fear of failure and fear of rejection, fear that everyone's going to laugh at you, fear that no one will buy your books, that is behind some of that writer's block. And finally, perfectionism. I can't tell you how many of my clients, I had one this week I was talking to, and I had to tell him, you're worried about being perfect more than you're worried about getting the book done. And that can get in the way. Just get the book down on paper. Get it written, get it done. That's why there's editors like me. That's why there's all the editors out there in the world. That's why you can self-edit. And there's programs like ProWritingAid and Grammarly and things you can use to self-edit, not edit, but self-edit. But there's a quote, I keep forgetting to look this up, but I'm pretty sure it's Jodi Picoult, and she said something along the lines of, I'm butchering it, something along the lines of, you can edit almost anything that you write, but you cannot edit a blank page. So just get it down on the paper, right? Don't worry about all the perfectionism and making that perfect. Let me tell you one thing you might be. If you're got writer's block and you're at the very beginning and you're worried about how to make that perfect scene opening, or better yet, that perfect line, that first line that you've got all this pressure from society and all these resources online saying you have to have the perfect opening line. No, you don't. You need a good opening line, yes. You need one that's not dialogue and one that's not boring or cliche, but it just needs to be good. I can't tell you, there's been only maybe one or two books in all the books I've ever read that I have actually said, damn, that's a great first line. Who really thinks about that? So put that out of your mind. Put perfectionism out of your mind. You're not going to get it right. You're not going to get it perfect, but we can always edit it. You can edit it yourself after the fact. You can change your chapters around. You can take one out. You can do whatever, but don't get hung up on perfectionism. Okay, so those are my thoughts on why we get writer's block. Now, how do we combat it if it does happen? Because it will, if it hasn't already. There are many things you can do to combat writer's block. And I hope my dogs don't start going crazy here. One is step away. Do something else. Read. No, we'll get to reading in a second. Do yoga. Do Pilates. Jog, run, walk, whatever the case may be. Whatever makes you happy, do that. Meditate, whatever. Get away from it. The other thing is to, believe it or not, read. Especially in the genre that you're writing in. You would just not believe how often I have been inspired. And trust me, we're not copying, we're not plagiarizing, nothing like that. But you just get inspiration when you read books somewhat similar to yours. Maybe you're reading this book and the character's mother dies and you realize, that's it, that's what I need to do. Her dad needs to die in my book. That's what I've been missing. You never know. I mean, any little thing can trigger creativity. And reading is a hell of a way to trigger creativity. That's why all the pros, Stephen King, everybody says, read, read, read. If you want to be a writer, you must read. All right, another way to combat writer's block is there's two more that I think are essential. One is to get on a writing schedule. This goes back to that timing thing. I don't mean a strict time yourself. Some people do that. I think that's putting too much pressure on yourself. But at least say, okay, I'm going to try writing between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. That's too early for you? Okay. Then I'm going to try writing from 8 to 9 or 8 to 10 every night after the kids go to bed. Or I'm going to carve out from 12 to 2 every day. That's my writing time, 12 to 1. It doesn't have to be a half hour. It doesn't have to be 2 hours, but some set schedule that you have a little leeway with that will get you in the groove. It will get your juices flowing. It will get that creativity going, and your lizard brain will start to be like, boop, 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 boop. Okay, I got a schedule. I need to write. And trust me, it actually does make a difference. Think about this. If you have a job and you've ever worked outside the house, remember the first few days when you went to that job and you didn't really know what to do? You stood there like, I don't know what to do with my hands. You know, you didn't know because someone had to tell you, okay, go do this, now do this, now check your email, now respond this way. After a couple of weeks, when you got on a schedule, what eventually happened? You would pull up into your parking spot, you would go into the office, sit down, and you would just have your day. You would just do your day, right? You would check your emails, you respond to things, go to your boss, whatever had needed to happen, you made it happen because you were on a schedule and you were in a habit and a routine, and those are essential to the writing process. Now finally, because we're trying to keep these videos under 10 minutes, finally, the most important thing I think you can do to combat writer's block is to write. Yes, I said it, write. Not in your book that you're struggling with. Put that aside for a moment. Here's one thing you can do. You can either tell yourself, okay, I need to get to point C, but I'm at point A. How do I get there? What's point B? Just ask yourself, make notes, okay, what do I want to happen at point C? All right, well, to get there, I need to blank. Or, my favorite advice is to don't even deal with your book for a day or two. Instead, I want you to write, though. Don't ever not write. I want you to use your writing time journaling, free writing. Write about your bucket list. Write about your first day of kindergarten. Write about your happiest memory. Write about when you met your true love or your soulmate or whatever. Anything you can think of. Just write about it. Hold on. Girl! Just write about it, and you will see that just continuing to write keeps those creative juices flowing, and it keeps you in the writing mindset. And you will, I can almost promise you that if you do that for a day, maybe two, just by writing free flow, and no one's ever going to see this, it can be whatever you want. By writing free flow, ideas will start to come to you, things will be triggered in that lizard brain of yours, and you will get ideas, and you'll know where you need to go. So that is how you combat, in my opinion, writer's block. Now, last few seconds I want to use to remind you that if you're watching this and it's before July 24th, I'm hosting a live webinar on July 24th at 7 p.m. called The 3 Secrets. Today we talk about 3 things. 3 Secrets to Writing Novels That Sell. The registration link is in the header or the About Us section. I want you to go and register now. We had 100 seats. Now we've got 50-something. So hurry up and register before the seats all are filled. And I want to teach you based on my 10 years of experience as an award-winning writer and as a book professional, I want to teach you the 3 secrets that I think it takes every novel to have in order to sell more than just a handful of copies to friends and family. And that's all the time we have today, folks. Oh, and be sure you check out our website, writeyourbestbook.com. There's a pop-up that will come up. I know we all hate pop-ups, but they work. Sign up for our free weekly newsletter where we do nothing, no selling. All we do is selling. All we do is give you writing tips, tricks, and advice. That's all we do every week. Sign up for it at www.writeyourbestbook.com. Talk to you soon. See you soon, YouTubers. Bye.